So, guess if I had been conceived on your world, I wouldn't even be here now, would I?
No.
No, I'd have been terminated as a fertilized cell.
It was a wish of our founders that no one have to suffer a life with disabilities.
Who gave them the right to decide whether or not I should be here? Whether or not I might have something to contribute?
I don't know what to say.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Fully Functional TNG Podcast. I'm Maggie, joined by Jeff and Dory.
Yo.
Jeff and I are Star Trek veterans, and Dory is a rookie Trekkie, and we are taking her on her first journey through Star Trek The Next Generation. Today we're discussing the Season 5 episode, The Masterpiece Society. Original air date, February 8th, 1992. And as always, we'll take it to Dory for the recap.
I have strong objections about the title of this episode.
Yeah.
It's dumb.
Yeah.
Anyways. Okay. So the Enterprise has been diverted to the Moab sector to track a stellar core fragment of a disintegrated neutron star. Science.
Honestly, the science is actually a little bit wrong. Like they're talking about they're talking about how dense it is, and they're like 100 billion kilograms per cubic centimeter, and I'm just like, that is 100 times more dense than a neutron star actually is.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So like science teams have been asked to monitor the planetary disruptions it may cause. So the core fragment is like basically going to pass by a planet called Moab 4 in 6 days, which like they anticipated that. But the plot twist was there's people on this planet, which they did not know about. So they are like monitoring the waves. So okay. So the colony on the planet, they are like, you can communicate with them. Like they're there. There's like, you know, waves or whatever. So Picard's like, calls them and is like, hey girl, you're in danger. Shit is coming. And what do the colonists do? They increase the shield strength. And Picard's like, listen, you're all gonna fucking die. And then like nothing will survive this, the thing that's coming for you. And then we meet their leader named Aaron Connor. And he's like, listen, we don't really want to talk to you.
Yeah.
But they live in a biosphere, which can stand up to earthquakes of 8.7 on the Richter scale. Oh, by the way, okay, this is a very quick side note. I think I said on the podcast at one point that like there was like an earthquake of 6 something point something when I was in Peru. Mm-hmm. Okay. I that's what I was initially told, but now I don't think it was a 6 something. Just now seeing like the destruction, a 6 point something that happened in Turkey recently.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know what level that was. I just don't want people to be like, oh wow, what an intense earthquake. Like stuff happened, but that did not. Yeah.
The thing is, it depends if that region is used to earthquakes or not.
Because they are very used to earthquakes. Everybody ran into the door frames, apparently, and they thought I just slept through it because I didn't go to the door frame. And I'm like, I don't know I'm supposed to do that. I just sat on a bed on wheels while it moved across a room.
Yeah. Well, so regions where they're used to earthquake, they build their buildings in a way to withstand them. So
yes,
I don't...
that was my friend's building.
Yeah, so I don't know about the situation in Turkey, but I suspect that maybe they don't get a lot of earthquakes there, so everything is like not built to withstand that, which is why it could be the same like intensity, but their buildings are just not built to withstand that. So that's why there could be more destruction.
Because after I saw that was going on in Turkey, I was like, oh wait, and so I tried actually searching the earthquake that I went through, and I actually couldn't find it. Because I assumed there would be like news stories, like it was on the news when I was in Peru, like the next day. But I guess because like there wasn't a ton of destruction or anything, so like it wasn't super newsworthy.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, because maybe I'm wrong of like how it was, because we didn't see that kind of destruction. But yeah, I don't know. I just felt bad being of like, oh yeah, it's this, and then I'm like, maybe I don't actually now. I'm doubting if it was that that severe, even though that's what I was initially told. Yeah, but as you said, it could. This might be a useless side note, anyways. Okay, well, they're biospheric and can stand withstand up earthquakes of 8.7 on the Richter scale. Also they're also like tracking this core fragment on the planet. So Riker's like wait, I wrote Riker's like data in quotations. I was like, I don't know what the fuck that means.
Oh, because Data tells him like, yo, that's gonna be way more than 8.7.
Because then I wrote fragment has a density of 100 billion kilometers per cubic centimeter, will cause tectonic shifts, way stronger. Okay.
Yeah.
Then Aaron's like, don't worry, it's cool. And then Picard's like, yeah, maybe we should like chat in person. And Aaron is like, no. We don't want people coming in, we don't want people going out. So Picard's but then Picard gets to kind of flex the like transporter technology, and he's like, oh, we can just come right in, it's fine. Like you don't have to do anything.
He wasn't really flexing.
So,
he was just saying, oh, well, we can do this.
Yeah, we can.
Well, I'd say he's flexing because they didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
But like that would have been impressive. I mean, it was impressive to them. So Aaron's like, oh, cool, hard pass though. But I will allow a visit from like some of you guys. So okay, then they did the wide shot, and first thought was like, this looks like Jabba's palace from Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, this is not a great set. It doesn't really look like a city of any kind that would be inside of this thing. I don't know. This episode has a lot of really weird origins that I will talk about later, but yeah, I don't. Nah.
Yeah. Okay. So then we meet Martin, who is like real pissed. He does not want these people here. He doesn't want the Enterprise crew here. Martin's happy for them to just die.
Yeah.
He's like, it's like, listen.
He's an evangelical of their whole bullshit.
I actually really like that actor. He's in Star Trek a couple more times as other characters. But you will never believe his fucking name. Yes.
His real name? Oh, what's his real
Ron
name?
Canada.
Oh, amazing.
Ron Canada.
Wild. Ron Canada. Okay, so then the away team is Riker, Troy, and Geordi. And so they explain, this is basically a eugenics colony.
Yep.
Gross.
For the record,
and they've been.
This isn't the first time nor the last time that Star Trek will deal with eugenics. It's something that they really like to bring up, and it's something that Gene Roddenberry especially had an interest in discussing. Not positively, obviously, all of his views on it are very negative. But like eugenics was a thing when he was real young, I guess. And then it kind of stopped being a thing well before he even started making Star Trek, but he kept talking about it. And I don't really know why, because, like, it's not something that anybody else was seriously discussing afterwards. It had kind of been dismissed as bullshit after the Second World War, really.
Yeah. Here's the thing, is eugenics, like, never really goes away.
That's true, yeah. That is a good point.
It could be one of those things where, like, because Gene Roddenberry obviously had an interest in discussing the future and what his vision for the future is.
Oh, yeah, of course.
So I wonder if he just ended up talking, like, discussing things with people, and a bunch of people he was surprised to be like, oh, you agree with eugenics? That's fucked. And then he's like, I'm going to make a point on my show to say it's bad.
Yeah.
Even though he...
Yeah.
I mean, he was dead by this point, so he didn't really have anything to do with this episode, but...
That's true.
This episode...
Okay, so
It
he might have, but I'll get into that later.
Either way, this episode does not do a great job of questioning eugenics.
No, it doesn't.
It gives very surface level objections to it.
And also it has very much decided by the beginning of the episode that eugenics is bad and we're not going to discuss it with with a positive approach anyway.
Yeah, but they also they wanted to say it was bad, but they didn't go hard enough.
Yeah, I agree with that. Definitely.
You know. Anyway, we'll get to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so like their ancestors came from Earth to create a perfect society. They believed that through controlled procreation, they could create people without flaws.
Ugh.
And those people would build a paradise. Sure, Jan.
Yeah.
So it's now they've gone through 8 generations of genetic engineering. That sucks.
Yeah.
So, okay, I just wrote, wow. Martin's like, we have evolved beyond the... okay. My note didn't make sense. Okay, get it. He's like, oh, we're super evolved. And they're like, oh, so you guys think you're, like, better than us? And Martin's like, basically, yeah. Like, they've evolved past the Enterprise crew.
Yeah.
It is
It's like,
it
how
is
dare
interesting
you?
that is said directly to the blind man, and obviously they're all a little uncomfortable
Yeah.
with their own prejudice there.
Yeah.
And I did
they're
like that.
oh yeah, we don't have blind people in our society. I'm like,
Yeah.
wow.
I think
Fuck right off,
I
Martin.
think Geordi was actually used really well in this episode. Even in scenes where he
Yeah.
doesn't have that much of an input, he has an impact, and I really enjoyed that.
Oh yeah, so basically in this colony, their lives and the environment, everything's intertwined. Like people are, like everybody has certain.
It's also badly explained how.
Jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a very stupid plan, if you ask
Yeah.
me. Okay, so like Martin apparently is a judge. That's bad. I would question his judgment.
It's not even the last time that he plays a judge in Star Trek, or rather somebody dealing with that sort of thing.
Listen, let Ron Canada find his niche and let him
I
run with
will.
it.
Man, he fits a great niche. I really like him. I just think that this character kind of sucks and he's not really explored.
Yeah. Okay, so Aaron is the diplomat. I also wrote, Aaron is so full of shit. He's like, yeah, oh, everyone is who... Oh, because, like, okay, he talks with Troy, and I'm like, can everybody fucking leave Troy alone for an episode?
Yeah.
Like, Jesus fucking Christ. So, Aaron is like, everybody...
Yeah, she's been treated badly for 2 episodes in a row.
Yes. So, yeah, Aaron's like, okay, everybody is who they want to be, and, like, in the crew's environment, people don't know who they are and don't always become who they were meant to be. Does that make sense? I'm reading my note and I'm not sure it makes sense to me. Anyways.
Yeah, well, he talks about how, like, everyone here has a purpose and they don't have to wonder about what they have to do with their life and stuff. That's all laid out for them.
Yeah, but it's so stupid because it's not, who they want to be. It's who they've already been assigned to be.
Yeah.
So that his argument is stupid. Okay, but then we meet Hannah Bates. She is a scientist with remarkable talent in theoretical physics. She looked like a combo of like Shelley Long and Jenny Garth.
Yeah,
she makes any sense. She was great. This actress was great. The character was great.
She looked
I
really
enjoyed
familiar.
Hannah.
Has she been in another episode of TNG?
Yes, actually, several. I think she's in 3 other ones. It might only be 2. Maggie, you might recognize her most as the woman that Odo had a thing with in one episode.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that one. She's also in Enterprise, as I recall, but I mean, I could not for the life of me tell you which character she's in Enterprise, because Enterprise is so fantastically unmemorable in so many ways.
Okay, so then Riker decides to go back to the ship. Troy stays on the planet. She wants to see the colony, and Troy's like, "Well, you're still." She has a whole bonding thing with Aaron. Ugh, gross. He's like, "Oh, you're still human. What about untimely death or accidents?" And Aaron is like, says he's like, "Oh, geneticists screen out any congenital health issues before conception."
Mm-hmm.
And they have a diverse enough. Oh, I missed a word in whatever I wrote here, because I wrote they have a diverse enough to maintain genetic balance in the event of an accidental death.
Population. They have a diverse enough population.
Okay, yeah, missed a word when I wrote that. Yeah, so like very little unexpected happens there. And I did not trust this guy from the start. Mm-hmm. He felt very skeevy and just like, ugh, I don't care for him. So, okay, Troy, man, my notes are garbage. Why can't I fucking read anything?
That's an excellent question.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Oh.
You definitely weren't genetically designed to be a writer.
God, handwrite stuff at the. No, I have the messiest handwriting, and somehow it's gotten worse. Okay, so Troy is not. She says that she is a student of human nature, and she would like to stay there. I do not know what. Okay. I finally was able to read my own writing. Aaron's like, so Troy would not be needed on this planet because she's the counselor and she helps people, but everybody already knows what they do. And she's like, well, I'm a student of human nature, but I would like to like stay here for vacation. And I was like, no, I very much differ. I would not want to go anywhere near there. So, okay, Geordi and Hannah they're working together on this stuff and of how to like save them. So Hannah comes with this idea of like a multi-phase tractor beam, but they can't like conjure up the kind of kind of energy that would be required. But she's like, the Enterprise probably does. And so Geordi is like, oh, Hannah, you should like come to the Enterprise and like check shit out there. But Martin, of course, pops in to be like, no.
Yeah.
Every 5 seconds, he literally pops in to be like, no.
Yeah, he has to. That's Martin's character.
Yep. And he's also like, what if the transporter affects your DNA? I'm like, calm down, Martin.
Did you notice how big Martin's mouth is? I don't know what it is about this episode in particular, but the shots especially accentuate it.
Yeah.
He enunciates a lot.
That too, yes.
He's a big enunciator.
Yeah, he does that in his other roles in Star Trek as well.
Okay, so
but
I guess that's
it works
just
better.
a Ron Canada move.
No,
yeah.
he plays a
Ron
Klingon
Canada
once, and
behavior.
damn, he's a good Klingon.
Oh, yeah, that's right. He does play a Klingon.
Yeah.
This is part of the Ron Canada acting playbook, is enunciating.
The Ron Canada cinematic universe.
Yes. Okay, so then, Geordi responds to them like, oh my God, I wrote, Geordi responds to these guys like he's talking to idiots who believe the vaccine contains 5G.
Yeah.
He's just like, I fucking can't with this.
Yeah.
So then Aaron says the situation requires flexibility, and he allows her to go up. So Hannah and Geordi, they've been working now for 3 days to find a way to adjust the path of the core fragment. They basically have 48 hours or else they're toast. And evacuation would be required on the colony. So Troy thinks that people will actually refuse to leave and will just die. And I'm like, yes, humans are stupid.
Yeah.
You're not wrong.
No, it's also just stubborn. Also, humans are very stubborn.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, people will just be like, cool. I mean, Martin already said he was cool to just die.
Yeah. That's not even the last time that particular theme will come up in a Star Trek episode, but it's done so much better in other episodes.
Yeah.
So, okay, also, this is such a side note, but to me, Troy's hair looked huge in this episode.
Yeah,
I felt like it
did.
was bigger than normal.
Could have been.
It didn't look bad or anything. I just was like, it just looked like there's so much more hair.
Yeah.
So over this, like the past 3 days, Troy's been spending a lot of time on the planet. And, oh, okay, I think this is, like, Troy's having a conversation with Picard at this point. So Picard is very much team no genetic engineering. He does not care for it. And he goes, many of the qualities that they breed out, the uncertainty, self-discovery, the unknown, these are many of the qualities that make life worth living. Well, at least to me. I wouldn't want to live my life knowing that my future was written, that my boundaries had already been set. Would you?
I feel
Which
like
is like,
feel like that's the least problematic part of this whole thing.
yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that still sucks, but like that's
Yeah.
There's so many other problems.
Yeah. Destiny is not is not the big issue here, Picard. But I do get what he is going for there. Okay, so then Troy says that Aaron is the perfect administrator, and I'm like, that is such a burn. I don't know why, but it's somehow such a burn.
Yeah.
And to be clear, there is nothing wrong with being, like, you know, an administrator, but just the way she says it about this guy, I feel like it's an insult in a weird way. Because, like, that's all he can do. Regular human beings can do other things, but this is it. This is it for him. But she's really not sure if Aaron would leave when it comes down to it. But she hopes so. See, I think the opposite. I hope he stays. No, he was like, he wasn't the worst, but I don't care for him.
I think before you get any further into it, I would like to point out that I was having serious thoughts about like what was going on in this episode up until this point. There's someone that I look to who does kind of little retrospective looks at each episode after watching them that I generally go to in order to give me more thoughts after I've finished. But at this point in watching the episode, I noted that like everybody seems to resent these people except Troy. We don't understand why Troy doesn't resent these people, aside from this guy is vaguely flirting with her in like a kind of charming way, I guess, for the 90s TV scope that it came out in. And that's it. Like, the episode isn't giving us any reason to care about these people, except, oh, this guy's okay. And if you don't like him, then that's it. You don't care about these people.
Yeah. Yeah, but Picard thinks that, you know, if they can convince Aaron to evacuate, if it comes down to it, then others will follow. But unless, because, I mean, he's the leader, so. Where you lead, they will follow, or something is the Gilmore Girls theme song. Something like that. I'm really bad at lyrics. So then, okay, Geordi is having he's talking with Hannah, and she asks him if he's always been blind, and he explains that he was born like that, and she wants to like take a look at his visor, and he's pretty salty, but it is very well, it is does rightfully salty. So Geordi says, I guess if I'd been conceived in your world, I wouldn't be here now, would I? And then Hannah says, no. So Geordi goes, no, I would have been terminated as a fertilized cell. And then Hannah says, it was the wish of our founders that no one have to suffer a life with disabilities. And Geordi says, who gave them the right to decide whether or not I should be here? Then he goes, or whether or not I might have something to contribute. And then Hannah says, I don't know what to say. Which is fair. This is all she's known. It's wrong.
Yep. Yeah.
But it's all she's known. Which I think this is why I like Hannah, is because she does fucking learn in this.
And the thing is, too, is like, they don't say this in the episode, but it's like, who's to say that they're suffering, you know?
Yeah. I agree with that.
Because, like, here's the thing. Like, there's definitely people, like, who have disabilities that, like, are physically painful and they do suffer and stuff. But a lot of the hardships of disabilities is lack of accommodation.
Yep.
You know, so it's like Geordie's not suffering because he has been properly accommodated. It's like it's kind of fucked up to be like to think that disability automatically equals suffering.
Yeah.
You know, it's just there's a lot of, because this is still something we struggle with today, but like there's a lot of like movies and TV shows and like just general media that it's like a person becomes disabled and then suddenly like their life is over, and then like, you know, people are like, I would rather die than live with this and stuff, and it's like, I mean, that happens, but
Yep.
like it's also like, why is that the only thing we ever see about it? And like, and a lot of people's reactions to that is like, now like they know it's a shitty experience for people with disabilities, so they don't want to live that life. But if we didn't make it so shitty, then it would be fine. You know, if it wasn't so like, I forget the word, or can't remember how to articulate it, but yeah. Just, yeah. I liked Geordie's whole bit in this part.
Yeah, if it were a boundary that were accounted for regularly in our society, and actually this is something that Star Trek does in this season and does in future series as well, where when there is somebody with some sort of disability, it's not looked at as a character flaw. It is looked at as just a part of who they are, and it's accommodated for without question.
Yeah, it's very rarely
As it
like
should be.
Yeah, like Star Trek isn't perfect about disabilities.
No, it's not.
But it's far better than a lot of other shows. And for the most part, it's like never about curing somebody.
That's right, yeah.
It's never about like, because a lot of, I don't know if I've brought this up before, but I think we've talked about it before. A lot of speculative fiction, like a lot of like, what is the future gonna look like, sci-fi and stuff, creates a world where people don't have disabilities.
Yes.
And it's just like, they just don't exist anymore.
Yeah, they've all been corrected.
Whereas Star Trek has always been like, no, we've just found ways to accommodate those disabilities. It's not that we're not getting rid of disabled people. We're accommodating them.
There is actually an early DS9 episode that has its problems about a woman who is essentially paralyzed from the neck down. It has to do with her species grows up in like really, really low gravity, and so she can't she can't really like adjust her body for the gravity that's in the rest of Starfleet, but she wants to be in Starfleet, and so she's accommodated for. And that's great.
Yeah.
And then there's like a whole thing about like the episode revolves around normalizing it for her, and she ends up making the choice to stay exactly as she is because she's like, no, this is part of who I am, and I don't want to lose this.
And that is cool, but there's a lot of problems with that episode.
Yeah, I'm not bringing up the episode as an example of virtuous storytelling. Just approaching this topic with a level of respect.
Yeah, because the episode, that's one of the examples where, like, the doctor finds a way to, quote-unquote, cure her.
Yes.
Of, like, that. It's a different situation because, like, because of the sci-fi-ness of it, it's not, like, very applicable to real life, which is, like, an issue you run into, like, when you start doing allegories and stuff, is, like, sometimes the
allegory misses, yeah.
Yeah.
If they did something very similar with Geordie, I think, then I think they could have made it much more applicable because Geordie's is a recognizable disability, and having the disability, like the tech side of it, the sci-fi side of it, does give him a different perspective on things.
Yeah. I'm just realizing now that DS9 would be the station would be a fucking nightmare on a wheelchair.
Oh yes.
Because they have those, like, little... It's such a safety hazard too, I'm realizing. Like, just in general. Of, like, they have, like, those little, like, metal things that, like, come up, like, every few meters.
Yep, I know.
Like, that's just a safety hazard. Like, in general, like... tripping hazard. Anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, Star Trek isn't perfect, but it's generally, like, much better than most shows.
Yes. Okay.
So then Hannah asks how the visor works. So Geordi, while he's explaining to her, he has this like moment where he realizes, oh, we should be able to send a high energy. He says a bunch of other shit. Honestly, I could not. I can't. But this is what the gist. This is what I got. That they should be able to send a high energy pulse through the tractor system. If it's short enough, it shouldn't overload the emitters.
Yeah. Basically, so what the issue is that they need more power, but it's too much to handle for the emitters, right? And then he gets on explaining his visor, and she's like, oh, how does your brain not get overwhelmed by all the data and stuff? And he's like, well, it does this thing where it sends it to my brain in pulses rather than, like, continuous. And then Geordi's like, hey, we can do pulses with the emitter thing instead of just one continuous beam, and that should help us not overload them.
Yeah. Okay. So then Geordi goes, oh, that's perfect. And then Hannah goes, what? Geordi says, if the answer to all of this is in a visor created for a blind man who never would have existed in your society. No offense intended, but like also, yes.
Yeah,
offense
lots of offense
intended. Yes. Okay, so we cut to a child named Matthew playing the piano for a bunch of adults.
Yeah,
but also Troy and Aaron.
Yeah,
like
just in the middle of a courtyard.
Yep. And then there's like a big shake, but then Aaron's just like, Matthew, continue playing. And like, this is what they consider like perfect society, is watching a child play the piano. I'm like, honestly, just kill me in this blast then. Kill me in this freaking like, this is terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not a perfect society. That's torture. Anyways. Oh, okay. So then so I wrote Aaron leaves, Troy follows him, and I wrote, Aaron and Troy move to a different part of the Rainforest Cafe.
Yep. It's pretty accurate.
It's like, yeah. So we see them, they're like, yeah, it's like it's truly like, looks like they're in the Rainforest Cafe, but then the background is like a deserty wasteland, because they're right at the end of the biosphere. And Troy's like you really, like, you should leave, like, you should do, like, you guys did this once, you can do it again, it'll be fine. And like, I don't know why you couldn't do this, like, recreate it on a different planet. And then Troy and Aaron proceed to recite Humpty Dumpty for reasons, symbolic reasons, I guess. And his point, though, is like, he goes, oh, why do we tell children these ghastly stories? And Troy's like, oh yeah, to prepare them for shit. So then I'm like, does this mean like Ring Around the Rosie was supposed to prepare us for COVID? Because I don't think that's right, Troy, but go off, I guess. So, oh god, this gets so melodramatic. I was like,
yeah. It's very soap opera.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But not even good soap opera.
Yeah.
This is
You know what actually
really
frustrates me about it? There are some really good scenes in this episode. Just standalone scenes between characters. But everything that's tying them together is just not there. I don't even know how to entirely explain it, but like, the episode does not come together as a whole picture very well. Or the picture that it comes together is just not, comes together to form is just not particularly coherent. Like, once we hit the 30-minute point that we're getting to right now in the episode, like, the story ends, and then they switch to the other part of the story that they hadn't dealt with yet.
Yeah. Okay, so then Aaron's like, you've been my counselor for the last few days. And Troy's like, or your friend.
Yeah.
But he's like, I don't need more friends. No, I'm kidding. He doesn't say that.
Yeah.
But then he kisses her and she's like, huh? And then I'm like, please stop. And then she's like, this is very wrong. And he's like, it's totally cool. Don't worry about it. And he doesn't say that.
Yeah.
This is not this. Yeah. He kisses her again. And he's like, yeah, this is terribly wrong. And then they kiss again. And I'm like, can I leave?
Yeah. Yeah, it's supposed to be one of those stupid things of like, we shouldn't do this, and like, you know, that whole deal. Ugh.
It's very cringy.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, this man has the personality of like a piece of saran wrap. Like,
Yeah.
he is so nothing.
Yeah.
And this is nothing. This is not the actor's fault. This is like, this character has absolutely is so boring.
Yeah, he's dry
Is so
toast.
like
Plain dry toast.
Yeah, he's toast that was like toasted like 4 times and then somebody left it on the counter and forgot about it.
Yeah. Yeah. They didn't even put butter on it. They just like, they got distracted by something and left it there.
Yep. Okay, so Geordi and Hannah then explain their plan to Picard and Riker. And so they're gonna like do some shit with some shit with the ship. Mm-hmm. And also they want to like reinforce the biosphere, which would require Enterprise crew going down to the colony. So, okay, then we cut to Troy playing the piano. Playing very loosely.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she's just kind of playing with it.
Yeah, she's pressing some keys. She
Yeah.
plays piano like I do.
Yeah.
Which is, I don't play piano, but I can play a song.
Yeah.
But I can press a few the keys and be like, yep, I'm playing a piano. I actually can play Yankee Doodle, that's it. But anyways, that's beside the point. Oh, because Aaron's like, oh, you were up so early. And she's like, I'm on Enterprise time. Which honestly, this has never occurred to me, the fact that like, there's different times on other planets.
Yeah.
So like the Enterprise crew is like literally having to adjust shit for like everybody else's time zones and stuff wherever they go. Cause like also they're like different planets, I assume, would have like different measurements and shit of time.
Yeah.
So like that must be jarring to then have to go like, you know, help with all this, live by this time, and then go back to like a different whole time system.
Yeah.
I do like that you noticed that, because like I skipped over it in the episode, but then read it in the synopsis afterwards and was just like, oh,
Yeah, I find it interesting.
It is something that Star Trek occasionally alludes to, like, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 times throughout the entire franchise, but it's usually not something that is actually addressed all
They
that
actually
much.
very subtly address it in DS9. In that every time they mention something about like the hours in a day or whatever, Bajor has a 26-hour day instead of a 24-hour day.
Oh.
Yeah. If you pay attention, you'll notice that they always they always mention like they always mention like 26 hours or like in multiples of 26 if they say multiple days and stuff like that. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. There's actually when they do work on like whenever they do work with like the Mars rover and stuff, there's a couple of people that have to live on Mars time in order
That's
to
wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, even like I'm just thinking like at my job, we have a West Coast department, but they're in Toronto, so like their time, like most of us are like 8:30 to 5, and they're like 10 to 7 or something like that.
Yeah.
And so like, yeah, we leave and they're still there for another few hours because Vancouver is on different time zone.
Yeah.
So
I actually,
it's
we have to do the same thing at my work. So I work in broadcast, and we have, we broadcast in, like, on the West Coast. So some of our shows are, like, at, like, 1 a.m. and stuff, because it's, like, the late show in Vancouver, which is, like, is it 3 or 4 hours behind us?
3.
3, yeah.
Yeah. That's interesting. Okay, so then Troy is like, I'm gonna go back to the ship and I'm not gonna come back. And he's like, what? Why? And she's like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, what future is there here? Like,
Yeah.
well, you guys are going to, like, how would Martin feel about introducing half betazoid DNA to the gene pool? And he's like, oh, okay, yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, no shit.
Yeah, like, what did you think was going to happen here?
Yeah. So Aaron then says, if we have to evacuate, anything is possible. And then Troy says, you didn't even want to talk to us just days ago. So, like, what the fuck? This whole subplot is so stupid. I hate it. Okay. Anyway, so Jordy and Hannah then transport down to tell Aaron that engineering will be sending some crews down for the next 48 hours to install 5 new shield generators and power supplies. So, like, 50 officers are, like, ready to come down. And Aaron's like, do we have another choice? And I'm like, yeah, die. Like, what? That's your choice. Live or die. That's it.
Yeah.
Let these people down and you live. Like, this is so stupid. Okay. So the Enterprise has now moved to a parallel course with the core fragment, and they must adjust the trajectory by minimum 1.2 degrees to ensure the colony's safety. Okay, so I actually forgot how much degrees they had said.
Oh, yeah.
And so I kept thinking while they were doing it that it was like 1.65 degrees.
Oh.
And so when they stopped, I was like, well, they didn't do it. And then they're like, we did it. And I was like, what? And I forgot. I remembered the wrong numbers. So I'm an idiot. And I was so confused for the rest of the episode. I was like, I don't get it. That was the wrong number. Nope. I remembered the wrong number. Okay, so here we go. So, like, okay, they set the tractor beam, but this takes up so much power that the ship then has to, like, go on minimal life support and only have critical systems going. But then it's starting to work. They're able to move the core, like, little bit and little bit, but it takes up just so much fucking power away from the ship. And life support is failing on multiple decks, and then the ship is, like, about to lose life support. So then they say to stop, and so Geordi stops, and I was like, oh god, they didn't do it. And then they end up moving the fragment trajectory by 1.21 degrees, and I was like, that sucks. They didn't do it. Are they just gonna die then? And they're like, we did it. And I was like, what? And honestly, yeah, this like bugged me for the rest of the episode. And then only now when I'm doing this recap, reading this out, am I realizing it's 1.2. So I'm an idiot. Yeah, they did it. Good job. Good job, crew. So Aaron then goes, he's like, this is okay. Aaron's like, this is a historic achievement, and he looks forward to honoring Hannah when she gets back, and like her face drops, and I was like, oh my god, is she about to be murdered? Oh. Because my first thought is like, what if her going up to the Enterprise is like he doesn't want her to tell other people what the Enterprise is like, so people don't want to leave, so they have to kill her. It's like, oh no.
For Star Trek, that's not a terrible assumption.
Because just the way her face drops, and he's like, oh, we're gonna honor her. I was like, oh no, is that sarcasm? Is that this could be really bad? So I just wrote, is she going to be punished? Executed? So okay, now back on the Okay, so they go back down to the colony, and Riker and Geordi are saying goodbye to Aaron, and then an alarm goes off, and so there's a breach in the biosphere. So Hannah's like, the tectonic shifts caused a breach, and there's serious structural damage, and looks like the fortification wasn't strong enough. Womp womp.
Wow.
But Hannah's like, well, if we can't fix it, I guess we're gonna have to evacuate in a few hours. And then Geordi's like, bitch, what's going on?
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about? Like, you're full of shit. And he's like, my visor's positronic scan would have detected the leak. And Hannah's like, well, fuck me, I'm busted. So she's like, I'm supposed to be like the brightest scientific mind of my generation, but like the tech on the Enterprise is way fucking cooler than anything could like imagine. And if like they're so smart on this planet, on like the colony, like why haven't they invented any of this shit yet? So Geordi's like, well, maybe necessity, it really is the mother of invention. You never really look for something until you need it. And so then Hannah says, but all my needs have been anticipated and planned for before I was even born. All of us in this colony have been living in the Dark Ages. It's like we're victims of a 200-year-old joke. Yes.
Yeah.
So then
Fair.
we cut to
Fair.
Picard going, asylum? Because Hannah is now requesting asylum. She wants to leave the colony, and there could be more people who want to leave. But they're like, oh, but if people start to leave the colony, it would devastate them and it would be destroyed. And I'm like, this is why you don't genetically engineer your population for very specific roles.
Yeah.
Because like it feel like inevitably somebody would have like the founders were idiots. These people are idiots.
Yeah, it's pretty shitty.
There
if
is
it's
no
like that.
contingency plans.
Yeah.
Like one person leaves and it's going to cause the entire civilization to collapse. That's bad planning. This is not the perfect society. You guys fucking failed. And so also, what about free will? Does your perfect society not include free will? Because that's dumb. So Picard decides he wants to finally like meet Aaron, and Troy. Oh, so he's like, Troy, you'll bring me to meet Aaron. So they're in the transporter. They're in the lift, and she's like, okay, wait, stop for a sec. And so she tells him that she's had a relationship with Aaron, and she thought that he should know before they go down. And Picard's like, I wish I didn't know this.
Yeah. Like,
he's very uncomfortable.
Yeah, you really didn't
by
have to
this.
tell me.
Yeah, he's very uncomfortable. But then he's like, listen, humans all make mistakes, even genetically,
engineered ones.
Yeah, so, okay, so we get down. Martin is fucking pissed. He's like screaming that Hannah's selfish for wanting to leave, and they should not have answered the Enterprise's hail. So Hannah's like, what did I write? There's also a dozen others that would like to go also. So Troy's like, Hannah, why don't you and I go for a walk and we'll let the men talk. She doesn't say that, but that's basically what they're doing. Because the men got to speak. And that's just Aaron and Picard, because they do kick Martin out of the room. Martin is shook by this suggestion, though, that he leaves, though. He is emotionally destroyed. In theory, but he's... But anyways, okay. So Aaron is like, oh, Martin, fully saw this coming, and I didn't listen to him. And he was like genetically engineered to govern the colony, and I wrote, we should stop everything. I don't know what that means. Anyways, so Aaron is just like, he actually does feel how Hannah does now that he's sort of been exposed to other shit. And he's like, so there is more out there. But he can't pull himself to like leave because he has like an obligation. Well, he's made himself, and the colony's made him. He can't leave, right? I mean, he can, if he wanted to leave, he could, but he is now so, convinced that like this is it, all he's meant to do is govern them and he can't leave. So Picard's like, yo, if you don't let people leave though, you're taking away their human rights. And he's like, yep, yeah. But then Aaron's like, but what about the people in the colony? What about their rights? Would they lose their rights? Because what would happen would be devastating. I'm like, well, they can also choose to leave too. They still have their free will. Yeah. They have their rights because if they're choosing to stay. His argument is so fucking stupid.
I don't know actually. Like the way that he makes the argument is stupid.
Yes.
But this brings me back to the beginning of the pandemic when you had a lot of conservatives that were like, no, I won't wear a mask. My body, my choice. And it was about the good of everyone, not the good of just you. And that is a very similar argument to this one. It's not exactly the same, obviously.
I agree somewhat. The only difference is like in this episode, they're so vague about what it actually means when they say like their society will be destroyed. Like, what does that mean?
I wanted to bring that up actually because like the whole major problem that this episode has in terms of why we should care about these people and their predicament is that it doesn't explain what it is that makes these people a like connected and unseparatable society. And in their defense, not that they succeeded at this at all, but in the defense of the writers anyway, it made more sense at the time because of what it was based on, but they still did a really bad job of it coming out in the episode.
Yeah, because like it's like, are they gonna like, is it just the structure of their society that'll be destroyed, or are they going to like literally die? Because they don't make that clear.
So this episode, the inspiration for the biosphere part of it was actually based on an experiment that was happening in the United States at the time called Biosphere 2, which was a closed biosphere that was built specifically with the intention of testing a completely separated from the rest of the world biosystem that people could live in so that we could explore the possibility of living on another planet, on another world.
Yeah. Or
this was
like
a
on a
sealed
spaceship
off
or something for like long-term travel. Yeah.
Yeah, so this was a sealed off system with multiple ecological biomes in it, everything from like rainforest to desert. Really, really neat idea. And hilariously, in the 90s, the whole project ended up getting shut down. Only about maybe 2 years after this, because they had people sabotaging the experiment while they were protesting the new person that they brought in to help them with managing. It was like funds and advertising or something like that. You may have heard of him. His name was Steve Bannon.
Oh, God.
Yes, and actually his company that was hired to work on this was sued afterwards, and they were ordered to pay, I think, $600,000 in damages to the people who were part of the experiment.
Wow.
So, good times. But yes, so the biosphere thing, that was big in the news at the time, and that is what was the inspiration for this. Not saying it was a good one. I'm just saying that, okay, at the time, maybe it would have been on more people's minds, but that's the thing when you're writing, like when you're writing sci-fi, speculative fiction, especially, if you're writing based on your own time period, that's all fine and dandy, but the way to make your message and your your content last, because this is very much a message show, and so they should have been thinking about this, is to make sure that it will be divorced from the context of the time in as many ways as you possibly can do that, and they did not succeed at all.
Yeah, no, I understand that, and that, like, I don't think that's a bad thing to be inspired by, and that's cool, but that still doesn't answer the question of, like, what makes these people unseparatable from their environment?
Well, the argument is that the biosphere is completely self-contained in the same way that, like, a what's it called? The same way that, like, a large
Australia is.
Hey, that's a great example. No, not quite.
Yeah,
But like a
because you can't
like
bring
a-
shit into Australia.
in the same way that like the animal kingdom is, in that if you separate one kind of animal, then you end up messing up the hierarchy. Now, obviously, removing a single person out of a colony of, they said at one point,
Yeah.
thousands,
So-
that making a huge difference is stupid.
Yeah.
I think they just didn't think about that hard enough.
Yeah. Here's the thing, though, that's definitely different because, like, they're not. That's also okay. Because because we're at the top of the food chain, it's not really the same thing.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like
That's fair.
the balance doesn't an imbalance in like our numbers and stuff like that doesn't really affect like it's not like our predators are going to take us over and it's going to fuck with the whole balance of everything. Like if you introduce like you know the stupid like tree beetles that like are not native to here, so they fuck up the environment and stuff. That doesn't really apply in this situation because they're
No, I agree that it doesn't.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
when it comes to everything from like evolutionary problems to ecological problems,
Yeah.
Star Trek has a very bad time with its allegories. And I
Yeah.
think this is an example of it having a bad time. I'm speculating that that's what they were trying to say with it. I can't find any direct evidence of them explaining it in any detail, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think because like we've kind of like weaved off on a thing here, but like my point in saying
true.
that is that means that I don't really agree with that argument of the guy saying like, then what about the people staying here? In that they're not gonna like as far as we know, they're not gonna physically die. It's just going to like change their
Inconvenience them.
yeah, it's just going to change their society, and that's not the problem of the people leaving.
That's true. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that.
Yes. Okay. So then, Aaron, he says that like thousands will suffer if Picard agrees to take these people, and as the suffering grows, more will demand to leave. And he's like, we were witnessing the end of this existence, and I'm like, that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then they go to the people, and Hannah's sort of with the group, and Aaron's like, listen, here's an idea. How about in a few generations you guys leave? People can leave. And they're like, what? No. And so then he's like, okay, how about 6 months? The Enterprise can come back in 6 months, and then like this way you give them like real time to think about it. And Hannah's just like, no, fuck that noise. Like, you're just delaying the inevitable. If we want to leave, we'll leave. We're not going to change our mind in 6 months. We know what's out. We know there's more out there now, and we want to experience that. And she's like, you could potentially lead us into a new era. But he's like, no, I think I'll just stay with this. And so he's like, fine, I guess you guys can like leave then, whatever. But like, you are also though welcome to come back, which I guess is nice. It's not the like run away Simba and never return. It's I mean, come back if you want. We're here.
Yeah. Listen, even if they go out into the world beyond it and they're like, oh shit, this actually sucks, I kind of wish I'd stayed, they still have every right to make that mistake. Like, they still have every
100%.
right to go out and realize that it sucks. Like,
Yeah.
you know.
So then Aaron then says to Troy, oh God, this is honestly, you know what? It doesn't matter. It's so melodramatic. He sucks. He's just like, oh, I can't believe I fell in love with you. I'm like, girl, you've been there for like 6 days.
Yeah.
You did not fall in. I mean, Troy's great, but like, shut the fuck up. And he also is like, I'll never get over you. I'm like, that's upsetting.
Yeah.
Well, good luck.
So why does he like her? She basically, like, all of her interactions with him were just her feeling slightly charmed by his dialogue, and that was it.
I think that's enough for him.
Yeah.
Apparently,
He's like, oh, she likes the way we live. Oh, that's it. This is my soulmate. Because listen, what else are they going to talk about on this? Like, what? Okay, I've got questions, but we're so close to the end. Okay, so then Picard has a little chat with Riker, and he's like, well, I guess we fucked up with the Prime Directive again. But Riker's like, yeah, but they're humans. And Picard's like, well, but still, in the end, we may have proven just as dangerous to that colony as any core fragment could have ever been. I'm like, fuck the Prime Directive at this point.
I'm like,
also, the Prime
I'm
Directive.
just
No,
like,
he's right.
So,
He's right. It actually doesn't apply.
yeah. No, but
because the Prime. Sorry, go ahead.
I got so annoyed at that last line, and it's like, oh, we've proven just as dangerous as that core fragment, and I'm like, but they're all alive.
no. Yeah, the core fragment would have killed every single person there.
Yeah.
You guys just took 23 people away to try something new. Like
Yeah.
that, I feel like there's a difference. That might be a hot take, I guess.
Yeah, it's like-
Picard, but
Boo-hoo, the Eugenics Society collapsed.
oh no,
Oh, no.
what will they do?
Yeah.
Yeah, rip.
Okay.
I can't bring myself to feel bad.
Here's the thing. Okay, if their version of it, like, what the fuck do they even do on this planet? Because if their like entertainment is watching a child play the piano, like,
Yeah.
Play a
that's
real
so-
basic song too. Like that is something that I would
Yeah.
have learned at that age.
Yeah.
yeah. So like, what does he think that these people are gonna miss on this? I mean, other than their, I don't know, whatever role they were assigned to play, but like, what the fuck do you do on this planet?
Okay, wait. Let's be fair here. They didn't think about that.
yeah.
No,
Like,
this is clearly an episode about a philosophical question.
yeah, they're not thinking about people's hobbies are on the planet.
No, not really. No. And I mean, genetic engineering and like eugenics are a thing that come up in sci-fi a bunch. About 8 or 9 years later, a far better film than this episode asked the question much better about like what happens in societies like this. It was called Gattaca.
Oh, we've talked about Gattaca before,
Yeah.
or it's been mentioned before.
But like this episode clearly does not do the topic or the message that it's trying to convey justice. It just kind of says, no, this is the perspective you should have. Here's some drama.
Yeah.
The end.
I mean,
blah.
this society is lucky that it didn't see being black as a flaw. Like, you know.
Yes.
Like,
Yes, absolutely.
like.
So, a background corner for a moment, actually. That was something that Michael Piller, who was the final writer of the episode, actually decided on consciously.
Mm-hmm.
This is a script idea that had been bouncing around the Trek writers' room for a while. I don't know exactly how long, but apparently the script went through something like 5 different writers before it finally hit Michael Piller's desk, and he was like, okay, the only thing I'm actually keeping about this is the genetically engineered society part.
Yeah.
And
Oh, geez,
I wouldn't
so
say
what
he
was
did
it?
a great job of that, but I
Yeah.
assume that if he ditched the other ones, they were probably worse than this.
Ugh.
The episode feels very much like a relic of season 1 to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, it's a very Roddenberry story to begin with. This is something that Roddenberry was big on with the eugenics stuff specifically. Eugenics directly isn't really covered as much in the future of Star Trek. They tend to lean towards discussing genetic engineering much more than eugenics. Whereas this society, they do flat out say, like, they do call it genetic engineering, but they say eugenics many times. And like they're happy with that, which means selective breeding was clearly something that went into it.
Yeah.
The timeline kind of adds up to this being pre Star Trek Enterprise era. So, I mean, they hadn't really come up with the Star Trek timeline as much then, but it would have been after the eugenics wars stuff that they came up with that
Yeah.
supposedly happens in the 1990s.
Well,
So,
that
like,
was TOS, right?
Yeah, it was, but they have alluded to it in TNG once or twice. There was there was an episode real early on that I can't remember the name of. I think it was like season 1 or 2. That had it was season 2 because it was that genetically engineered society that Pulaski was turning into an old woman on.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that one. And that one wasn't specifically eugenics either. It was genetic engineering. But they do allude to what happened in...
Is that the same or a different episode than when the clone won?
Yeah, they were...
no, that was a different episode from the clone one.
Okay.
The one where they stole
one...
the DNA.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that was a different one.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was the one where the child was apparently so genetically advanced that he was killing everyone else with his like super DNA that was like fighting off other people's DNA.
Yeah,
It was really silly.
Yeah, it's where everyone starts turning old.
Oh, I remember the toxic children.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
The ones who
Yeah,
communicate psychically.
Yeah, they couldn't figure it out at first.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, yes, I remember that episode. Not a ton, but I remember like the very elderly Dr. P. It's like the white hair.
But yeah, so in the end, this episode just does not do a good job of approaching its subject matter, and it's sad because, as I said, there are scenes in it that I really enjoy, especially the one, especially the scene in the turbo lift between Picard and Troy, where she admits that she was kind of making out with Aaron down in the colony, and it's like not professional, and like that discussion that the two of them have, I think is really good. It's a short scene, but the dialogue between them is great. And it covers it covers technically nothing that is all that important in the episode itself.
Yeah. The thing is about it is like, okay, as a scene where she has to admit to being unprofessional and stuff, it's good.
Yes.
However, I don't think she needed to tell Picard that.
No, I don't think so either.
I feel like...
it was definitely not a great reason to do it.
Yeah. Like, I think that scene was well acted and stuff, and, like, the dialogue makes sense for what's happening, but I don't think it's, like, this situation shouldn't be happening. Like...
No, it shouldn't.
Like,
I agree. There's definitely far more unprofessional romantic moments between characters than this, and the fact that she's confessing over he kissed her twice and she was really unenthusiastic, and then he kissed her a third time and she was like, okay, I'll be into it, and then said no afterwards. And it's like, okay, well then he pursued a relationship towards you which you put a stop to relatively quickly, so no.
Yeah. Like, yeah, it literally didn't make a difference at all whether Picard knew they had a thing or not. So
I understand why they did it. It was meant to be like, yo, I know you're taking me down there, but this is going to be awkward. But at the same time, I agree it was unnecessary.
Because, like, if they wanted to, like, actually have it make a difference, then you make, like, Aaron an even fucking... Like, Aaron, okay, he's not the worst. But, like, I feel like the only reason that it would be necessary, like, story-wise, is, like, if... when her and Picard go down, if he makes some kind of like, you know, allusion or like reference to the fact that they had some kind of relationship or kissed or whatever. And, but that didn't happen. Aaron wasn't that gross.
Yeah.
So he didn't do that. So it ended up like, well, Troy, you just told your captain that you like fucked a guy.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
okay, can we pause for 1 sec? I really need to go and pee.
Sure.
Picard. He's like, I wish that my staff didn't tell me so much stuff. His face though was so funny when she told him.
Yeah.
He's just like, but why?
Yeah. Like, I don't need to know this, Troy. You can keep this to yourself.
Yeah. God. Troy needs a better guy.
Yeah.
She needs a nice relationship. Can something nice happen to Troy soon? Ugh, honestly, I could do with like a stupid episode.
Yeah.
Like a silly one. I could it makes me nostalgic sometimes for some of the dumb shit from season 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Because sometimes those are just like needed.
Yeah.
I need something fun. It is kind of funny though, like with this episode, is that they don't even make the point that like eugenics is bad in this episode.
Yeah.
Because it's just like part of the story that these people are, you know, genetically engineered, but they don't make the point necessarily that like they're like, well, Geordie wouldn't exist in this you know, world.
Yeah.
But they don't like flat out like this all be bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like maybe we don't do this.
Oh,
Yeah. I feel like they
So,
could have
yeah.
made more of a point on that.
sorry.
Yeah, because like I mean,
I forgot to bring up in the background corner thing that making a diverse genetically engineered society is actually something that Michael Piller wanted to do, because he's like, I feel like Star Trek hasn't really done that, and let's start to, you know, approach what like prejudice would be like in that society. And, you know, it turned into an episode that didn't deal with that theme at all, really.
Yeah.
like this felt like they were going for something, but then they lost it.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Very
part of it is that
quickly.
the episode pivots what its threat is. Threat is 30 minutes in.
Yeah.
And that doesn't do the episode any favors, especially trying to weave in that love plot. They could have made the problem more dire. They could have removed the love plot and spent more time with characters interacting with other Enterprise crew members, so that we would start to see like a movement begin to form that would actually lead to the conclusion that they wanted to lead it to, clearly. And then I think the episode could have been a lot stronger, but the fact that it leads to one point and then pivots and really has no characters that we're rooting for in the meantime, it doesn't do the message any favors. I mean, there's a guy that I follow, goes by the name of SF Debris, that I think I've mentioned on here before. I really like his Star Trek takes, and there's one that he brings up quite a bit that I quite agree with, is that having a message show is all fine and dandy, but if you have a message that I agree with, that's not enough for the episode to be good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed.
And like, yeah, eugenics bad, but are you saying that in a good way? No.
They also didn't make the point, I guess, like from what I remember, they didn't make the point of like anybody saying, well, maybe you guys shouldn't have a
Design
eugenics based society
Yeah, I mean-
if it falls apart when one person leaves. Nobody's like, listen, your structure sucks.
Yeah.
They're just like that's not a perfect society.
Yeah.
I'm kind of surprised nobody was like, it's not that strong if it falls apart if one person leaves.
Yeah.
That's stupid.
Yeah. That's the thing sometimes, is that like, because Star Trek is very much a like they have the prime directive of like being like non-interference and like not sticking your fingers in other people's societies, because like that's not really your place. But sometimes they get to the point where it's like, okay, you're like ignoring something that's like obviously wrong here.
Yes.
Yeah.
And like you can still have like, you can not interfere, but you can still have opinions. Be like, yeah, this is like, this kind of is a shitty way to organize a society. Like, especially if
They've
you're
also
like, if it's so delicate that like you can't, like you like that people have no choice and they can't leave.
But also, what if, here's a question. I mean, Troy kind of mentions it, but now, like, logically, yeah, what if somebody fucking dies and they don't have a replacement for that person?
Yeah,
Say, like, something happened. I know there's, like, like, but then, like, okay, if they do have some kind of contingency, then why wouldn't it be applicable to this if they want to leave?
It's because it's, like, too many people want to leave at once. It's like they...
But even if he said even if just Hannah wanted to
Yeah,
leave, that would be a problem.
they do flat out say
They said if
that
just one
it's just
person
one
left.
person, yeah.
So they're like, what's the difference if, like, Yeah, what if something had happened where there was something where a bunch of people died at once?
I guess they were like, yeah, it's dumb that they didn't plan for that contingency. That it's like, hey, what if we have like a mass death? You know, what if the stupid biosphere breached and like a bunch of people got killed at once?
Yeah, because like if the Enterprise wasn't following this shit, they would have died. So like what? They would have just nothing.
Yeah.
Like they were so concerned. They were like ready to all just like pass away. But but the fact of some people leaving, nope, that's too far.
Yeah.
Inconvenience? Oh no, we're going to be destroyed. But like the other option was just everybody like the logic is not logicking.
Yeah. Yeah. It's their society is very poorly structured, which I think it is the point of the episode.
Yes.
That it's like, wow, this is a really... But, like I mentioned, I don't think they hammer in that point hard enough. That it's like...
They don't.
Because at the end, it's weird that, like, even Picard seems to be like, oh, I can't believe we destroyed their society. And it's like, your society shouldn't be destroyed if a bunch of people want to leave. Like, obviously your society isn't great if a bunch of people are like, let's get out of here.
Yep, they're Little Mermaiding. Mm-hmm. They want
more
to go where the people are.
Yeah.
They want to see him dancing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, it is kind of like credit to those people that like want to leave. Like, even maybe some of the people that like don't want to leave, but like a lot of those people are like, wow, like new ideas are good. Like people that are different from ourselves are good.
Yep.
Point is eugenics bad.
Yes.
Yes.
And that is consequently the point of the episode.
Yeah.
Just eugenics bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If there's nothing else anyone wants to bring up before we move on, I say we go to favorite moments and lines.
Sure.
I don't even know if I have one. I like Geordi getting to say his speech and be like, well, he's like, well, I guess I wouldn't exist. And Hannah's like, yeah, I guess. And then I like Geordi being able to be like, if I didn't exist, this solution would not have happened. So everybody would have fucking died. Mm-hmm. So Geordi, this is yay for Geordi, this episode.
Yeah, that's my favorite as well, because to me, that's the only part of the episode that like really questions like how they structured their society. Because like even Picard's point about like, oh, you've bred all the humanity out of them, it comes across as more about elitism and being like,
yes.
Yeah, it feels more elitist to me than like an actual concern about like, hey, this is like messed up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's my thing. Geordi's bit. It's my favorite.
Yeah, I also really enjoy Geordi's parts, and I think that if not for that one moment in the turbo lift between Troy and Picard, having, I think, more of an effect in the moment for me. Because obviously, like, within the context of the episode, it really doesn't have much value. But I really liked it as a character scene. I found that maybe it has to do with the fact that last time that we did an episode, we watched Troy have to put up with a lot of bullshit, and I was just really happy to see her be able to be like a good character in a moment.
Yeah.
I'm a character with a flaw, and I'm going to discuss that with my captain who I trust and, show, a good character moment there. I mean, it's not something that amounts to anything in the episode or later on, so it doesn't really matter in the end. And yeah, in the end, Geordi's scenes also, they're more powerful. But I don't know.
Yeah.
I really like that scene between the two of them.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree that like the Troy and Picard scene, in a vacuum, it's a good scene.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I just think, like, for the context, it's like, this didn't really need
Oh no, for sure. It
to be a thing.
it's like trying to hit a nail with a hammer and missing and hitting, something beside the piece of wood altogether. And you're like, wow,
Yeah.
that was a really good hammer job on something that I wasn't trying to hammer.
Yeah. All right, then. We'll move on to predictions for the next episode. So, Dory, I think you'll enjoy the next episode. Because
Yay.
I remember it being a fun one. So, the episode is called Conundrum. Mm-hmm. And the crew have to solve a mystery about themselves.
Oh. Okay. Fuck. You know what this made me think of? The episode where everybody forgot what happened except for Data.
Oh, yeah.
But if this is a fun one, they have to figure out a mystery. Is it like a group thing?
Yeah, it's a group thing.
Or it's in... Okay, so they have to figure out like a group issue versus like individual?
Yeah. Okay, to give you a hint, everyone forgets who they are.
Oh my god. Ooh! Oh no. Okay. Okay, so maybe... Okay, this is... Okay, I have an idea. Mm-hmm. It's bad. It's not very good. Okay, so maybe... Maybe this might be too much to like put in for an opening, but like, okay. So say the Enterprise crew, they pick up some people and they're like, oh, you guys like work so hard. You really need to like have some fun. And they're like, no, we're going to work. And they're like, or we could go for like a drink at 10 Forward. And maybe they like put like, I don't want to say they spike everybody's drinks, but like
everyone
with
gets
like
drunk.
a maybe... Yeah, and then like, but in the drink is like memory loss things, but maybe it's like only for a certain amount of time.
So they
but
all
like
get
everybody's
roofied?
there. Yeah. That's really bad though. I don't want them to get roofied.
Yeah.
I don't know how else you forget. Does everybody get collectively hit in the head at the same time?
It's a space energy thing.
Oh, did they go through a thing? They like, oh, look, a black hole or star or crystal entity
Well,
goes by.
You can
and
decide what
resets
did it.
Oh, God. Okay. They go through some waves. Mm-hmm. Space waves.
Yeah.
And, God, okay, this is so dumb, though, because I was like, how would the space stuff even affect memory?
It's Star Trek. It really doesn't matter.
Because I'm like, could it be magic? No, because it's got to be fake science. Oh, God. Could magic be technically fake science?
Yes,
I was just about to say fake science is basically magic.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
just make up some bullshit words to go along with it.
I don't know. God, this is hard.
All right, what kind of shenanigans do you think will happen?
Oh, okay. I've got a terrible idea.
Okay. I'm excited.
Okay. What? Okay. This is a terrible idea, but listen. This is all I got right now. Forget about being roofied. Okay. So say the gang is in the holodeck. Mm-hmm. They are, doing whatever scenario. Maybe it's a team building exercise. Go with me here.
Yeah.
They go through some space waves and then they maybe become the characters they're being in that moment because they can't remember who they are, but then eventually they get out of the holodeck and they're like, wait, what the fuck? Who are we then? What is happening? What are we in? Yes.
All right.
That's what I'm going with. It took a hot minute to get here, but we've arrived.
All right, awesome. So if you want to see if Dory's correct, watch along with us and join us for the next episode of Fully Functional, a TNG podcast.
Goodbye.